This was Kenny Severs. From the time he was a young boy, he had always been in trouble with the law and had grown up to lead a life of crime and drug abuse. For many years, Kenny had been living on the streets. He would spend nights in abandoned buildings or tents, no matter the outdoor elements. His body and mind ravaged by years of drug addiction, trauma, and homelessness. He had always been at odds with his family, pushing them away whenever they tried to help him, including his own son. But one day, his father extended an invitation to him to attend their church's upcoming Christmas Eve ceremony, after previously experiencing a miraculous healing himself. A hungry, broken, and desperate Kenny decided to go. Kenny was at the end of his rope, tired of his lifestyle and the constant pain and hurt it brought. As he sat listening to the sermon, he made a silent plea to God. If he was real, he needed to do something for Kenny, because he was ready to give up. As the preacher called for an altar call, Kenny made his way to the front of the church. She laid her hands on him and began to pray, and Kenny felt something shift within him. He began to tremble and tears welled up in his eyes. When the prayer was over, he felt different, like a weight had been lifted off of him. Kenny took a deep breath and tried to process what had just happened. For the first time in a long time, he didn't crave drugs. He had been delivered from his old life and filled with the Holy Spirit. Although healed, Kenny was still facing criminal charges for his past. Kenny had been wanted in numerous locations and decided to turn himself in, to begin the process of getting his past behind him. But even then, the inmates could tell that something was different about him. He was filled with joy, peace, and the Holy Spirit, and he was eager to share the gospel with anyone who would listen. Kenny ended up getting out of jail a lot sooner than expected, considering his charges against him. The Lord showed Kenny favor for his faithfulness and helped him. Kenny is now a regular church member and 1 year sober and clean from drugs, thanks to the grace of God. After his supernatural and miraculous healing and deliverance, Kenny has mended the relationships that his past and lost ways caused him to bend. Today, he cherishes his family, sobriety, and his relationship with God. He has never been happier. Kenny now spends most of his time with his family, making up for lost times. He loves to especially spend time with his son. Once a lost soul, craving acceptance, now a healed, delivered, mighty man of God. Kenny and his brother have now dedicated their purpose to reaching out to other struggling people, telling them Kenny's story of how Jesus had saved his life and how he could save theirs. Kenny is now a living testimony of God's power, mercy, and love. His story is now being spread far and wide. If you're struggling with addiction or oppression in any form, Kenny's story of redemption is for you. Put your trust in Jesus and you will know the freedom and joy that Kenny has found.